Assalamu alaikum, namaste, shalom, ¿cómo estás, ni hao. I have so many salutations. I keep piling them up because I want to welcome every single person that's watching today, because all of you are valuable and we're in a global community. So always let me know if I need to add salutations, and I'd love to add them. So today's conversation is very interesting. I have been a big fan of Bollywood most of my life. I can probably sing along to all of the 80s songs and maybe some 70s songs. I'm probably very well versed in item numbers as well. I've been watching cousins and family members and friends dancing to all of these Bollywood songs at every Mehndi. And so Bollywood is a big part of my life. What's interesting, as an empowered woman and intelligent woman that I feel I try to be every day, I feel that a lot of women, much like all of you out there, have this love-hate relationship with the Bollywood actress persona. And it's like this love-hate relationship because we want to support, we want to sing along with the songs, but we have such a responsibility of what we represent as women for girls that are younger than us. So today, I'm really honored to have this conversation with somebody who is an inspiring person to me, a journalist that is a truth seeker, truth speaker, and is globally recognized as one of the most inspiring journalists around the world. Her name is Barkha Dutt. Absolutely, that's who I would have this conversation with. Her work ethic is incredible. Her integrity is admirable, and we're gonna dig in real deep. So, welcome, Barkha. How are you?
Hi, Maria. It's a pleasure to be on your program. I'm very tired right now because this is my 75th day on the road, traveling across India, reporting on the lockdown, on the coronavirus pandemic. But I'm very glad to take a short break and be having this conversation with you.
You speak to a lot of Bollywood actresses, and you're very familiar with how this industry works. The reason why it's so fascinating, I think, as women, is what draws us to that ideal. And the question is, who do you feel is in charge of that persona? Is it the actresses, or is it the male eye and the vision behind the production?
So it's a great question, and I think as empowered women, we have not resolved the answer to this, right? And I'll share a personal story with you. I was once interviewing an actor, and she told me how she had to fight her family, fight a lot of orthodox groups to become an actor, to be able to wear the clothes she wanted to, short clothes if she wanted to, few clothes if she wanted to, and she felt that she had really lived life on her own terms. But when I watched her actually on cinema, I felt that hypersexualization may have just been a replacement of the earlier kind of gender stereotypes that, dictated to her that she should be clothed from head to toe. So I think Bollywood and Bollywood's women are very much caught in that conundrum, that somewhere they are looking at themselves through someone else's idea of beauty. And no matter how addictive, how luring, how fun it may be for us to be part of that whole party that Bollywood is, if you pause and you reflect on it deeper, the fact of the matter is that there is a construct. There's a construct, and they are living that construct. The only thing that's changing now is that men are also beginning to have to live that construct. Not as much as women, but the whole sort of beauty game, the whole beauty myth is now ensnaring men as well. So I would say it's not that people are liberated from it. I think that it's, instead of liberating women from it, you've managed to trap the men into it as well. So it feels a little less unequal than it used to.
So that's fascinating, because I completely agree with you. I see these young men, these young actors, and if they don't have a six-pack and they don't take their shirt off, I mean, how successful is this movie going to be, right? So what we have then, what if I hear you correctly, is that we have the use of flesh. We have the use of flesh. We have the use of distracting with the flesh, that's luring and sexualization. And now we're bringing men into the game as well, right? So then the question is, if women have been doing it so long, since before time, I'm talking about like 60s, I think 70s, we got a little bit deeper. And then towards the 90s, 2000, it's like everything's pretty, all the clothes are off, and everyone is like super sexualized. So if women have been doing it this long, where is the woman's voice? I understand that you're saying she is trapped. And this is a more specific question, is how much power do you think a Bollywood actress actually has over her creative direction?
It's a very complicated question. I think many of the women in the industry today are extremely empowered women. I think there is more space than ever before for women to do different kind of roles. I think today Deepika Padukone can go on screen and be someone who's been disfigured by an acid attack and be the lead role. I think today you do have women playing roles other than ones that sexualize them. I think all of that is beginning to happen. But when it comes to the sort of sexual attractiveness, which is a very, very key part, not just of Bollywood, but of this entire social media world that we all live out, I feel that men and women are now in this kind of game where you're chasing the image the whole time. And, you know, I'll tell you that one of the most liberating things for me doing this COVID reportage is that 90% of the times I'm behind a mask, and I left my house in Delhi with 4 kurtas and I've been washing and rewashing them. And it's been so liberating that my work speaks, and it doesn't really matter what I'm wearing, whether it's a faded kurta, whether it's ironed, what the makeup on my face is. Maybe there's nothing, maybe I have dark circles. But I don't think there's an actor who could come on camera without being styled, without makeup, right? And I think that is more true for women. It's almost as true for men today. And frankly, they live very empowered lives otherwise. There are women who have come from very modest backgrounds, who have completely become entrepreneurs. They've become producers. They've made money. They've made their own money. And I'm all for financial empowerment. So I back all of that. But I also know as a feminist that the word choice is a very loaded word in gender when it comes to the gender debate. And I think there are no easy answers to it. Where is the female agency? How much of it is dictated by society's idea of who you should be? I think that even as women try to shrug off those labels and those chains of gold are all around us, you know, every single day.
Absolutely. And there's two things I want to point out to for the audience, what you just stated, which is very critical, is that this is not just about Bollywood culture. We're talking about Bollywood, but we're talking about sexualization of women in all forms of media, in advertising campaigns all over the world, right? So Bollywood is just a colorful dancing version of it. So we're talking about it in a larger scheme. But one other thing that you stated is that a lot of these women are powerful entrepreneurs, correct? And they're they've actually built themselves up. I mean, I listen to some of them on interviews, and I feel like this is the real person, you know, like this is the inspiration behind the character that somebody created for her. And so my question is, do you feel that that has to be kept under wraps when you are going to be creating this Bollywood persona? Or is there not much of an opportunity for mass consumption for actresses to share that side of their powerful attributes?
Well, I think it's a bit of both, right? I think that there is a certain game and there's a certain formula, and you're expected to play that game if you want to come into this industry. But I also know some brilliant women who are able to be skeptical, who are able to turn a more thoughtful eye on themselves, who are able to wrestle with, you know, being feminist, identifying as feminist, but having struggled with body issues like bulimia, like anorexia, recognizing that they want to not be in that trap, but they are. You know, and I think all of us have had journeys like that. You know, I remember being an 18-year-old who used to say, I'll never paint my toenails, I'll never wax my legs. And as I lived, you know, maybe I came into my 40s before I did it, but I did it, right? I painted my toenails in my 40s. I wore lipstick. There was a time in my life I said I never would, because I don't need to. So there is an evolution that takes place, and you don't know which part of you is embracing yourself and just being more comfortable in your own skin, and what part of you is surrendering. And I think every day, whether it's Bollywood or you or me, there's a little bit of surrender and a little bit of rebellion, and a little bit of surrender and a little bit of rebellion. And I see the women of Bollywood, of this industry, maneuvering very much the same way, almost doing some of the formulaic stuff so it'll buy them the freedom to do the non-formulaic stuff.
So this is interesting. I think that we're talking at two different levels, and I think we need to distinguish them. One is being comfortable in your skin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And being able to live your life by the physical expectations of yourself, right? I put on makeup this morning, but I should be able to come in and not put in any makeup at all. And so everybody should be comfortable in what they want to do and be comfortable in skin. We want that for girls. We don't want them to be pressured. We don't want them to be pressured by the filters on phones telling them they need to change their features. But the other part of this is the sexualization for profit, where women are making money and perhaps sending the message to younger girls that you're going to make a lot of money. So it's one thing to be comfortable in your skin, and it's another thing to say, you want the paychecks? Then this is how we're going to negotiate, right? So my question is, for the younger girls of India, what is going to take them further? Is it going to be the individuals that are reminding them to be comfortable in their skin? Or is it going to be the girls who are inspired by Bollywood actresses of how they have maintained an empire based on understanding where they need to negotiate?
I think that you'll have different girls having different role models, right? I think you will have Bollywood's women admiring different kinds of women as well. I don't think that they necessarily, and some of them are very close friends of mine, I don't think they necessarily sit in their ivory towers and, think that they are the coolest people. I think there is a sense of envy in them also, of women who are able to live freer lives, lives freer of the image. Let's put it like that. I remember I was interviewing Alia Bhatt and her sister Shaheen Bhatt, and actually I was interviewing Shaheen on her battle against depression, and Alia had come along to talk about what it meant as a sister to go through that. And one of the things that Shaheen said was that, even to come here, we had to dress up in a certain way to be on the stage with you. And Shaheen's not an actor. She's from an actor's family. She's from a film family, but she's not an actor. And you could see that dissonance, between the two sisters, very affectionate. But you could see Alia being slightly apologetic, saying, sorry, I mean, this is my professional avatar. It doesn't mean that this is who I am. So I think when you talk of young girls, there are young girls who in India who are going to want to fly a fighter jet. And there are young girls who are going to want to be a journalist and be out during COVID telling a story. And there are those, yes, who will come to Bombay and they'll say, you know what, if my body is part of what empowers me, so be it. So be it. And all of us will have to draw that boundary for ourselves while we constantly negotiate which part of this is free will and which part of it is biological determinism and which part of it is just us imagining ourselves through the eyes of a third person. I think so much of that, more than Bollywood, social media has done. And we don't talk about that enough. Social media is very empowering in some ways. But if you look at the constant image construction on an Instagram or any other portal, the fact is that the need to look a certain way because you constantly feel looked at. So you have to learn to separate yourself from constantly being looked at. And I think being looked at is something that defines a lot of young girls in India today, and that worries me.
So that's a great point to take up. So it worries you that a lot of young girls are focused on what they're looking at. And I think how people are looking at them. And I think this is a global phenomenon with young girls. In fact, there are studies that at the age of 13, girls that excel in math and science actually start dropping. They start dropping in their grades and their interest in those fields because they actually feel like they're overcome by what their lip gloss should be, how their skin looks like. And those are a lot of advertising campaigns that come at you. So my question is for the business side of things and how you have friends in Bollywood that you see them as very powerful beings. How do you think we can bring out that side as a stronger influence into the masses of these young girls? So these young girls are not focused on what they look like, but what those women sound like in smart conversations.
Well, I think the simple answer to that is to have role models in our society who are not defined by their body size, by their makeup, but by their accomplishment. And I'm not saying that acting is not an accomplishment. I think it's a great accomplishment. I think it's art. But I do think that we should start appreciating the women of the industry for how they act. The fact is, this is a deeply ageist industry. Your male stars are above 50. There are very few women, even above 30, who are getting lead roles. roles, whereas men above 50 continue to get roles. We need to start calling stuff like that out. We need to start calling the fact that women are not paid as much as men in movies out. And a number of this generation of women has started doing it. But the better way to do what you're talking about is to have cooler, more edgy role models. You know, the fact is that tomorrow, if you have a woman flying a fighter jet, I think that that's something to aspire to, that I would encourage a daughter if I had one. I'm not saying I wouldn't encourage her to be an actor if she wanted to, but I know that the feminist in me would wrestle with it much more than if she wanted to join the Air Force.
So let's go into the fact that we have issues of gender equity, which you stated, and we also have the uncovering of the Me Too movement within India, correct?
Yep.
So there's two very powerful vehicles right now for women actors to really step away from just a role of entertaining and say, hey, no one else is going to take up this issue other than female actresses. They're the only ones that can do it. So when we're talking about these two issues, do you feel that this is a strong vehicle for them to create a sisterhood? We, a lot of the times in corporate America and everywhere else in boardrooms, we talk about the good old boys club, right? The brotherhood. Is there a sisterhood through these two vehicles that we can create for women, journalists together and actresses, where we can start speaking about them in a different manner, in the way we report, in the way we lift them up?
I think there's beginning to be one.
Right.
I did find that when the Me Too movement first exploded on us, a number of prominent women from the industry did speak out. I remember Sonam Kapoor being one of the first people, and she really didn't care that the people that she was calling out, were people who she probably grown up with. I remember Shweta Bachchan just saying one line, believe women. And that's, she said, we should believe women. So I think that I see a generational shift. So it's an interesting dichotomy. In many ways, women of this generation are much more trapped by the image than women of the previous generation were, certainly than women of my generation were. But in other ways, these are women who are less trapped by the hierarchies of the film industry. They're less worried about looking over their shoulder. They're less worried about not making an enemy, so they're ballsier in a way. They're spunkier in a way. They're willing to stand out and, even ruffle a few feathers. So there is that contradiction that you see a greater freedom in some ways and a smaller freedom in other ways. So I think when it comes to body issues, when it comes to body size, I find this generation more trapped. But I think when it comes to speaking their mind, they do speak their mind much more.
So it looks like what we're going to have to do is we're going to encourage young girls to speak out more, to come out of this trap that they are now in. So they have the tools. We just need to make sure that they keep getting platforms. One thing I wanted to ask you, when we know that Bollywood has such a representation of what an Indian woman is, right? Do you feel there is a nexus or any sort of connection between how girls view themselves, of how they define the Indian woman, right? Number one. And number two, let's talk about the rape statistics in India, right? So we always talk about in so many different countries that art reflects media or media reflects art, and how they work together to impact the population. Do you feel that there's any relationship between violence against women, sexualization on big screens of women, or do you think that is a huge leap?
I think that's a huge, huge excuse for sexual violence. I think it's absolutely irrelevant how sexualized the industry is or the images. I have other issues with that because I'm not convinced that the agency is with women. I'm not convinced that women are comfortable aging. I'm not convinced that women are comfortable talking about the fact that your thighs will have cellulite at some point, that you will have wrinkles around your eyes, that you will, your skin will tan, your hair will fall. I have issues like that, but I will never link it with sexual violence, with the rape statistics. To me, that's just crap. I think whether you're fully clothed, whether you're highly sexualized, violence is violence, and there is simply no connection between pornography, between sexualization, clothes, and violence. So I think we must be very careful to see rape as an expression of an abuse of power and absolutely having nothing to do with the sexualization or the debate of around sexual agency of women.
You are now on the cutting edge of your multimedia company, Mojo. And you have brought back journalism on the ground, where you are bringing people's lives and people's words unfiltered. And I think that's so powerful. In that process, you have also touched a lot of difficult political situations as well, and touched on controversial topics, which any truth seeker definitely has to face. You've done it boldly. In fact, and when you've gotten online hate, you've rolled up your sleeves and you said, I'm going to call all of you out. So you are really teaching a generation of girls of how to respond, and a generation of humanity of how to respond to individuals who don't want to hear the truth. My question to you is, with Kashmir, with COVID, and taking the time out now to have this discussion about women and girls in India, what in your life do you have that continually motivates you to keep moving forward?
I think I have the stubborn conviction of self-belief. I think that is what motivates me. I find that both praise and criticism, praise is lovely, criticism can be hurtful, but then if you've been around for like almost 26, 27 years as I have been, you also learn to shrug it off. I think the rule for anyone who wants to live life on their own terms is find what's inside of you. There was a young girl asking me yesterday, what would be your advice to young girls? And I said, my only advice would be, don't listen to other people, right? Whether it's your parents, whether it's your partner, whether it's your friends, whether it's your children. Women spend too much time being shaped, not just our body, but even who we are. We spend too much time being shaped by someone else's idea of us. I think what keeps me going is that it doesn't matter how many times I'll fall. It doesn't matter how lonely I might be sometimes. It doesn't matter how bruised I'll be, but I will only live by my untidy idea of who I want to be. It won't always be tidy. It will change. It'll be messy, but it'll be my idea. So my point is, what keeps me going is my idea of me.
Well, you said earlier today in our conversation that you want cutting edge, some new, loud, well-spoken role models for the girls of India, and I think they have one. I think they have one, Barkha.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you so much, and I'm honored to have this conversation.
Thank
and
you.
I'm honored that I got to share some of your intellect, and you made me exponentially smarter on this topic.
Oh,
so
thank
you so much.
Thank you so much.
Have a great evening.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
I am just so grateful that we had this conversation. Not just a conversation about Bollywood between two women and the importance of power and agency within the Bollywood industry, and the movements that are coming in now to uplift these actresses, and also how that impacts young girls. What really left an impression on me, honestly, is the fact that Barkha Dutt is actually the role model that all young girls can really aspire to. She's honest, she's a truth seeker, she talks about important discussions, she's authentic, she's smart. But not only are those attributes there, she's worked hard. She's worked hard to build her credibility. And it really shows so many girls that if you are doing what you're doing and you're busy doing it well, then people will be touched and influenced and have great impact. And that influence is going to be stronger than all of those messages and voices that are not authentic and not powerful and are bringing you down. We are in this world to lift each other up. Barkha Dutt is doing that. And I think what's also very, very incredible is that even though we have a choice of what type of role model we want to aspire to be like and follow, that there are platforms now where women like Barkha are having major influence, and we need to support them and uplift them. So I'm just so happy that I had this conversation, and I hope anytime you watch a Bollywood movie, you watch it as an audience member with agency, and you wish for the actress that she also has agency. And around you, if you have young girls, you keep sending the message that the music is good. What's really important is that when you are empowered and you are part of the process of appreciating art or creating art, what's really, really important is being authentic and being truthful. So with that message, thank you for joining me today. And as always, I bid you peace.